Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiram Vanachavare Yamunatiram Vanachavare Yamunatiram Vanachavare Yamunatiram Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiram Vanachavare Yamunatiram Vanachavare Shri Hari Ram Sankirtan Yagi ki jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Shri Shri Radha Sharat Bihari ki jai Shri Shri Jagannath Dodar Subhadramaya Shri Shri Lord Nitai ki jai Divine Great Bhakti Swami Prabhupada ki jai Iskon Vartana Guru Vrinda ki jai Samadeta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai All glories to the Samu devotees All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Om Tasmai Shivre Namaha Shri Chaitanya Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadam Pitam Vanchadavitarudyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Nana Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shimani Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschya Vishukarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Prema Guru Vibhunyama Shivdevam Suprasavantena Vasnasa Surusukam Ram Krishna Madhavam Chansane Hare Krishna. So I'm very happy to come back to Philadelphia and see the deities, Shri Shri Radha Sharat Bihari, Jagannath Mata Subhadramaya, Shri Shri Gaurnitai. This is, I don't know any other temple on the planet where they have Radha Sharat Bihari. And of course, this is Krishna enjoying the most loving relationship with Srimati Radharani and the gopis. And Jagannath, he's intoxicated with the love for his devotees. That's why he's smiling so broadly. So the deities in here are emanating a lot of love, which is reflecting in the community. So this is our biggest, we can say, product which we have for the world, because the whole world is lacking love. And when we speak about love, we speak about real love, not the mundane love, but divine love. And this is what our movement is meant to deliver to the whole planet. And today we'll be reading one of the very special verses. We can say even the most special verse, at least for our movement. And without this verse in Bhagavad Gita, historically, Srila Prabhupada would not make his voyage to the United States, and the movement would not start, and none of us would be here now. So this is how important this verse is for our movement. And anyone knows which verse we're talking about? Yes, some of you know. So this is chapter 2, the contents of the Gita summarized, text 41. Because this was the verse which, and especially purpose to this verse, which actually inspired Srila Prabhupada to make such a bold step and go without any contacts and travel all the way to the United States on the steamship and single-handedly, but no money for support, starting his mission, which was very successful, again, due to this verse. So we'll chant the invocational mantra and then we'll read this verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Yavasayatmika Uthir Ekeha Purnandana Bahushakaya Nantascha Buddhayo Yavasainam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Purus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Purport: a strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Yavasayatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 2262 states, Vishwasa kahe sudvida nishchay Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma kritahaya. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvamati Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student, and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well-versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada, yasya prasada navati kutoki, dayam stavam stasya yashastri sandhyam pande guru shri charana arvindam. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should, therefore, meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically, when there is no longer a chance for sanctification manifested in further activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. End of the purport. Yavasayatmika buddhi, ekeha puranandana, bahushakka yanantascha, Buddhayo Yavasayanam. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. Although a child of the Gurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So, this is very interesting verse, which was actually not only historical to our movement, but the importance of which was marked by many people who came across Bhagavad Gita. And for example, the former CEO of Singapore Airlines, who actually brought this company to the global status and made it one of the best airlines on the planet, which continuously winning global prizes. Mr. Pillai, who is a Christian, he attributes the success of Singapore Airlines to this verse of Bhagavad Gita as well. Because he says, this verse is stressing that one should be focused on the goal, right? And so what should be our goal as the airline? What is our, of course, the goal is to serve, right? And to serve the Supreme Lord, and then he said, what's our contribution to the Lord's service? To serve the customers to the best of our ability. So let's focus on service rather than profit or any other types of achievements. You who had the experience of Singapore Airlines, so, yeah, you can all confirm how good they are in service. So amazingly enough, the principles of Bhagavad Gita, even one verse applied
can bring either material or spiritual or both successes. We can say that Prabhupada was successful both materially and spiritually, right? Because as we mentioned some time ago, Srila Prabhupada was listed amongst 10 special people of the 20th century by CNN who achieved tremendous success despite of the late start in the career. Right? They calculate by financial terms what is everyone's net worth. And Prabhupada was the oldest on the list because he started his quote-unquote career after 70, which was really, really late start. But then he achieved such a tremendous success that even materialistic people are impressed and surprised by that. And so, this is the power of Bhagavad Gita. We can imagine if one verse applied in life can produce such a tremendous effect, what all 700 verses can do. And so, Srila Prabhupada was saying that this particular verse was the tipping point, you can say, in his determination to go ahead. Because, as he mentions in the purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, whose commentary on Bhagavad Gita he was reading at the time, actually stresses this point that if you want to be focused on the goal, your goal should be instruction of your Guru, right? And then Prabhupada remembered, what was the instruction of my Guru Maharaj? Okay, preach in English. And so then he decided, okay, let me start with America, the most influential English-speaking country on the planet. And the rest is history. And it is very important for us because all of us who came across the Krishna consciousness movement and we started practicing, and then how many of you can say, I want to see the show of hands, how many of you can tell that since you started practicing Krishna consciousness, your life changed positively in more than one way? Okay. So we all have appreciation for what Krishna consciousness can give based on our personal experience. Once I compiled my personal list of blessings I got from Krishna since I started chanting Hare Krishna. And I made 108 points, and I could go on, but I really like the number. So I decided to keep it to 108 benefits. So it benefits in so many ways, and the more seriously we apply the process, the more benefits we get from that. And that's why Srila Prabhupada was saying that Krishna consciousness is the best solution for every single problem of this world. And one thing is that any seriously practicing devotee naturally likes to share the benefits of Krishna consciousness with other people, right? How many of you would like to share Krishna consciousness with as many people as possible in this lifetime? Okay, very good. And so, how to do that? That's a $1 million question. And Prabhupada was saying that, of course, Prabhupada shared Krishna consciousness very, very successfully with millions of people. And he was actually giving an instruction, and this is what Ravindra Swarup Prabhu reflects. He says, at one point, Srila Prabhupada said, I want all of you, my followers, to be like me. I'm just one elderly man, and look how much I'm accomplishing. So I think it's time for all of you to become like me. And then the disciples were saying, but Srila Prabhupada, how this is possible? That you're a pure devotee, you're such an extraordinary personality, will never become like you. To which Srila Prabhupada responded, not only it is possible, but this is my order, that all of you should become like me. And then, we can just imagine what can be possible to accomplish. And so, that would be nice to become like Srila Prabhupada, right? Yes? But where do we start? How do we start? And of course, as Prabhupada mentions, that the most important thing is to be focused on the instruction of your spiritual master. And in our society, even though we all have different spiritual masters, but we have one common spiritual master who is the preeminent Shiksha Guru for all the ISKCON members, that is Srila Prabhupada, and every Diksha Guru in ISKCON is deriving his authority from Srila Prabhupada. And every bona fide Guru is helping his disciples to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions as he himself follows. And what is the... Of course, Srila Prabhupada gave so many instructions. But then, upon founding the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, he made 7 explicit purposes for the movement. And it is very interesting that the very first purpose, which is really ambitious and really global in nature, is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and teach all people the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and achieve real unity and peace in the world. So we can see the global nature of this purpose, because even the word Krishna is not mentioned. Even the word God is not mentioned, what to speak of Krishna, because that purpose is all-encompassing. Because Srila Prabhupada knew that Krishna consciousness can be only based on the foundation of spiritual development, or as he says in the preface to Srimad Bhagavatam, that our aim is to re-spiritualize the human society. It was very spiritual some time ago, and now it became quite materialistic. So, if we want Krishna conscious development, we should help the society to become spiritual again. And this was the first and foremost purpose of ISKCON. This is why Srila Prabhupada started the society. He didn't just want one tiny exotic religion. He wanted the whole world to be Krishna conscious. And as followers of Srila Prabhupada, we're supposed to be also focused on that desire and try our best to help this world to be re-spiritualized. Which is already happening if we look at the serious changes which the world underwent comparing to 65, when Srila Prabhupada stepped on American soil. There is much more interest over spirituality and lifestyle and goodness, and even chanting of mantra Hare Krishna mantra is so popular nowadays comparing to what it was. And we just need to take it a little bit further. And let me see, how many of you would like to know all Srila Prabhupada's secrets of success in order to be able to follow in his footsteps? Anyone is interested? Okay. One of our leaders, His Holiness Kavi Chandra Maharaj, he shared a very interesting article with me. And this article is coming from one Christian leader. You know, we can learn a lot of good things from our Christian brothers as well. And this article is very impressive because it is listing, it is entitled 12 Signs of a Spiritual Entrepreneur. And of course it's a little bit confusing that spirituality and entrepreneurship do not seem to go too well together, right? Because entrepreneurship is all about profit and spirituality is normally perceived as non-profit activity, right? This is common perception. But if we are to follow in Prabhupada's footsteps, what Srila Prabhupada was doing before he started his mission? Business. He was an entrepreneur himself. And what were the principles Srila Prabhupada utilized for ISKCON? These were business. ISKCON is founded on a business model. Book sales, prasadam sales, right? And therefore, ISKCON is still developing 41 years after his death, right? Because it is very practical. And so, it is very interesting that, but Srila Prabhupada showed the example. He was making a lot of money with his mission, right? But he was not using it for himself. That's the difference between spiritual entrepreneur and material entrepreneur, right? Material entrepreneurship is all about myself, right? Profit for me. But spiritual entrepreneur, profit for God, right? And so, this particular Christian leader, he says that in order to become successful in a mission, you have to become spiritual entrepreneur. And of course, he's American, and this is the country which is successful, which is the global power, because it is using the entrepreneurship model in its development. Anyway, I'll read you the article, and you can meditate on Srila Prabhupada as I did reading this article, how much these 12 signs are in line with what Srila Prabhupada did, how he was thinking and what he was doing. So, you are building your team. You're even assessing your personal gifting for everything that lies ahead in ministry. What's the gift set you're looking for that in a leader or in yourself that will really help move your mission forward, reach new people, and prepare for everything ahead? At some point, at the senior leadership level of your church, temple, you're going to need a handful of what I call spiritual entrepreneurs. Often these people are misunderstood in the church or in ISKCON as well. For the most part, shepherds and chaplains have run the church. So what would be the analogy for ISKCON? Shepherds and chaplains. I suppose preachers and managers, right? I'm not saying that we don't need them. We do, but what happens when all of you are these kind of people? Here is what happens. The kind of radical change that both the temple and the world need does not happen. Instead, leaders hold the hand of a sick church, temple, and comfort it while it dies. I know that sounds harsh, but look around. Isn't that mostly what's happening? I also know enough good shepherds and chaplains, managers and preachers, to know that they find the hand-holding of a dying church deeply frustrating and frightening. They don't want the church to die, but there aren't enough leaders around them with the gift set of mindset necessary to turn it around. Something is missing. The missing gift set in the church is spiritual entrepreneurship, something the New Testament calls apostleship. It's the kind of radical determination, innovation, and fierceness the Apostle Paul showed. And I would say this is the example Prabhupada showed. And let's see what are the signs of spiritual entrepreneur. First, think big. Too many spiritual organizations die of small thinking. What are the examples of small thinking? We don't have enough. It will not happen. Stop dreaming. That's plenty for now. Who will pay for it? Leaders who serve an infinite God should never have their imaginations deadened by small thinking. Spiritual entrepreneurs aren't. They think big. They dream of what could be, not what is, and they see the opportunity in every obstacle. Was Srila Prabhupada thinking big? Yes. Actually, he was saying that this is my only problem. I could never think small. Right? That's why Srila Prabhupada was succeeding big, because he was thinking big. Point number 2, believe God can. We serve a God who created amazing things out of nothing. Why do we think that He will not do the same for us? Spiritual entrepreneurs believe He will, and they see Him do it. They would agree with Henry Ford, who said, whether you believe you can, or whether you believe you can't, you are right. Before you dismiss this as positive thinking nonsense, remember, Jesus could not perform many miracles in his hometown because of people's lack of faith. Then moments later, he walked on water and fed 5,000 because people in those communities had faith. Spiritual entrepreneurs believe God can, and they see Him do it. So, is it reminding you of Srila Prabhupada? Was he very successful in India? No. Why? Because people didn't have faith in him, right? And why he was successful in America? Because people have faith in him, right? Just today, on the way back from Delaware Temple, we were discussing that devotees were appreciating my enthusiasm, but I was appreciating the enthusiasm of the devotees there, and I was saying that if you are surrounded with such an enthusiastic and interested devotees, then naturally you want to give your very best, right? But if you're surrounded by half-dead people who are not interested in anything except prasadam, would you be interested to share? No, of course not. So it's really important for your success that you are surrounded by your supporters and well-wishers, people who appreciate you, right? People who have faith in you. Even though it's always good to keep in touch with all the devotees, but give priority to that group. then you can perform well and you can benefit everyone. Point number 3, see abundance, not scarcity. Spiritual entrepreneurs see abundance instead of scarcity. Give a dying church $10,000 and they'll think they are broke and need to conserve it. Give $10,000 to a spiritual entrepreneur and he'll see it as seed money to start something big. To a dying church, 5 leaders is defeat. To a spiritual entrepreneur, it's a start. Same facts, different mindset, attitude is everything. Okay? In my personal experience, I've seen that also, that best investment is investment in people rather than in anything else. Because people are making difference, not anything else. Number 4, and of course, Srila Prabhupada started his great mission with what kind of resources? He didn't have, what to speak of 10,000, he didn't even have $1,000, right? He didn't even have $100, not even $10. How much he had? $7. 40 rupees, right? This is how he started it all. Well, no, 40 rupees plus $20 he had from, the sales of his Bhagavatam set to the king, to the captain of the ship, right? That's all he came with, $20. Point number 4, think vision first, resources second. So what comes first, vision or resources? Spiritual entrepreneurs are very comfortable with the reality that vision precedes resources. Casting a big vision, a solid on mission vision, will often lead to significant resources down the road. Waiting for big resources so you can have a vision is a recipe for bad. Right? What Srila Prabhupada had first? Big vision or resources? Big vision. What was his vision? Global society for Krishna consciousness. And then Krishna gave him everything. So, thinking big means having big vision for your service, for your mission. Point number 5, invest in personal and team development. Spiritual entrepreneurs aren't crazy spenders, but they see a key distinction between an expense and an investment. They realize that going to conferences, networking with other leaders, buying books, and doing whatever it takes, to make themselves and their team better is an investment. Sure, there are limits, but smart spiritual entrepreneurs will often spend a minimum of 10% of all the money they receive making themselves and their team better. Was Srila Prabhupada investing into devotees all the time, right? It went to such an extent that he would even provide expenses for his servant and his family, would give money for the child, etc., etc. So he was very, very caring. He understood that taking care of the devotees is really important factor in Krishna conscious development. Now, point number 6. Is it interesting? Yes? Okay. Believe this is bigger than you. Of all the criticism levied at spiritual entrepreneurs, the most common is often that they have big egos and it's all about them. Sometimes that's true, but most often it's not. Big vision does not automatically equal big ego. The best spiritual entrepreneurs humbly submit to God and are committed to a vision that is so much bigger than they are. Personal humility combined with big ambition for the mission fosters incredible leadership. Think about it this way. The reason we're talking about Paul 2,000 years later is that Paul's work wasn't about Paul, it was about Jesus and the mission of the church. If your vision is all about you, it will die with you. True spiritual entrepreneurs know that. So, it's really important. One thing to focus on one word is legacy, right? When you will die, which is unfortunately inevitable for all of us sooner or later, right? What kind of legacy you leave behind? Srila Prabhupada left so many legacies. Why? Because he was not thinking only about himself. His work was for Krishna, right? And he wanted Krishna to be glorified. And that's why we have so many legacies left by Srila Prabhupada, right? And we need as many devotees leaving serious legacies behind. In this way we can ensure the future of this movement. Point number 7, ship first, improve later. Perfectionists make terrible entrepreneurs. If you haven't shipped on your vision yet because you're waiting for ideal conditions or the perfect result, you will wait forever. People email me all the time, usually after going to a conference hosted by a large church with lots of resources, and ask whether a new building or better lighting or a move to a portable location will help them grow. I always tell them it won't, and here is why. Big churches never started big. They usually started very humbly. But because they are led by spiritual entrepreneurs, these entrepreneurs at every stage made the most of whatever they had. A spiritual entrepreneur can launch a growing church in a dying building with little money. Then they make all the improvements later as facilities and resources grow. So again, Srila Prabhupada, right? He was not waiting for ideal conditions to start his mission. It's very interesting. He started his voyage on Friday the 13th. Was not waiting for ideal conditions at all. He just started. And he was improving as the things went on, even though it was hard, right? So he literally shipped himself first to the shores of America, and then he started improving everything from that point onwards. Point number 8, to be fine with ambiguity. Ask a spiritual entrepreneur how they are going to do it, and the number 1 answer is, I don't know, we're just going to do it. There is something powerful in that. If you have it all figured out before you launch it, your vision isn't big enough. So yes, you want to see something, but you have no idea how to do it, right? But then you let Krishna decide. And this is how you surrender unto Krishna. This is what Srila Prabhupada did. He had no idea how he will be going to do that. Krishna arranged everything. Point number 9, will risk it all without guarantee of success. Too many leaders hope for some kind of guarantee. Risk brings no guarantee because it is risk. Spiritual entrepreneurs are okay with that. Most spiritual entrepreneurs want to die trying. Was Srila Prabhupada ready to die trying? Yes. He nearly died twice on the journey. Usually they don't die trying, but the fact that they are willing to is crucial. Ironically, if a spiritual entrepreneur has a solid plan that's on mission, they usually don't fail. But you have to be willing to fail to succeed, right? You have to be willing to fail to succeed. That's really important. Point number 10, never wait for consensus. Too many churches will only move forward if there is consensus. That's a critical mistake. Consensus kills courage. By the time you have consensus, ideas are so watered down, they are worthy of the committee that put them together. Spiritual entrepreneurs rarely act alone, at least the smart ones don't. but they're ready to move ahead with a group of early adopters, knowing most will eventually buy into whatever is being proposed once they see it working. So, was Srila Prabhupada waiting for consensus? Was he waiting until everyone in Gaudiya Math will tell him, okay, go ahead with your mission, right? He just went along, with very few people understanding or supporting him. Because he knew very well, I'm serving Krishna, I'm doing what my Guru Maharaj wants, that's it, that's enough. Point number 11, really important, let the critics talk while they act, while you act. The critics will always talk. Spiritual entrepreneurs know this. They don't get weighed down by critics who criticize what others do and do little themselves. How do you respond to the critics? By acting. Just act while the critics talk. You will accomplish something, they will not. Was Srila Prabhupada criticized? Heavily criticized, right? Was he worried about it? Not at all. That's why he became successful. It seems that in our society there are two kinds of people, I've seen. That one kind of devotees are actually doing something and doing really big things. And the other kind of people, they do nothing but criticize. Right? As if this is their service. No one gave them this service. They just chose this service for themselves to criticize. They just waste their lives. That's their business. And point number 12 is really great. Break rules. Quite obviously, you should not break biblical or scriptural rules. And the great spiritual entrepreneurs never do. Their character is solid. But you are going to absolutely need to break some human rules if you are going to disrupt the status quo. Innovation always breaks rules. Why? Because innovation never asks for permission. It just innovates. Was Srila Prabhupada breaking rules?
All the time.
All the time. What kind of rules?
You just take risks, you take chances.
Yeah, not only taking risks, but, introducing, yes, Dhammasana.
Introducing the Brahmacharini ashram.
Yeah, Brahmacharini ashram, that was completely against the rules.
Crossing the ocean, that was
Crossing the ocean for sannyasi, that was no.
giving brahminical initiation and sannyas to people from elections.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was criticized for giving Brahmana initiation to those who were born in non-Brahmin family, Prabhupada took it so much further. He was giving sannyas to those who are, according to Vedic culture, not even human beings. Right? Yes, thank you. He broke so many rules. Was he criticized for that?
Yeah.
So badly. Was he caring about it? No. So that's really important. I think this is a great analysis, yes? How many of you found it interesting? Yeah. How many of you would like to follow the 12 principles in your life? Very good. I'm sure Krishna will fulfill your desire. And as some of the devotees know, that for the sake of achieving the first purpose of ISKCON, we've started a special leadership empowerment school in Sridham Mayapur, which is meant for budding spiritual entrepreneurs with devotees who are professionals and who have leadership potential. And we are offering professional training, which is conducted by what I'm thinking the best faculty members available worldwide. including a number of very successful Prabhupada disciples, Krishna Kshetra Swami, Anuttama Prabhu, Pancharatna Prabhu, and highly professional devotees from all around the world as well, working with United Nations, with the governments. Raja Lila is also taking part in that, and Padmalochan Krishna Prabhu, who is one of the, he's the regional director for Harvard's Business Learning School in Southeast Asia. So those courses are costing tens of thousands of dollars. But then he's coming and he's providing training for free to our students. And so it's a great opportunity if you want to become successful spiritual professional, introducing Krishna consciousness on a large scale and actually making your living out of it. And these opportunities are there. And you might take an interest in our school, and if you want to either enroll or support it in any way, shape or form, you can talk to me. I'll give you all the contacts. And this year we had the first, well, last year, no, this year. This year, in the beginning of this year, we did the first, you can say, semester or round of training for our students, and we had astonishing results, which actually exceeded our best expectations. Not talking about myself, but we have a 12 faculty member team, and everyone was saying that, because all the students were highly professional as well, and they came up with amazing projects, which actually, even if some of those projects will work, that will change not only country but probably the whole continents. And I'll give you an example of that. Because my faith is that you can become very, very successful if you do something you're really good at and you love doing. And so both things have to be combined. You know, it's based on the principle of Bhagavad Gita, Shriyam Swadharma Vidurant Paradharma Sanushtita, that you can achieve success if you act according to your nature. So you have to be yourself and do that for Krishna. Then you'll be amazingly successful. And then one of our students, he's from Canada, and he's a top manager in the construction company. And then he's really good at this. He's leading multi-million-dollar projects, but then he doesn't like his job because he sees that as material activity, right? Same like Arjuna, he was seeing the fighting as material activity. So he wants to give it up, and he tells me, I want to move and live in some village with the devotee. And I'm saying, okay, if you want to give up your job, why don't you join our school and see, maybe you could do something with all your expertise. And he was saying, oh, I cannot imagine, how will I use my construction experience in Krishna consciousness? What can you think of? Maybe construct the temple, but then where the resources are coming from, etc., you know, that a lot of headache. And then he took the training, and then he was really like trying to figure it out for the first one, but then he actually did so. And at the end he presented his project. He said, if I am good at construction, and if I want to live in a Krishna conscious village, I should construct my own village. And then we were like, how do you do that? how big will be the village? He said 500 houses. And even Pancharatna Prabhu, he was like, what are you talking about? This is intentional community. These kind of communities do not exist on the planet. Did you look at it? He said, yes, I did. It's going to be the first one. So really ambitious, because he's really good. And we were asking him all kinds of questions. And first one is, of course, what is the cost of the project? Over $800 million. Okay, so where the money will come from? He said, it's not a problem. The state government is looking for someone to construct this kind of village already. I always knew that, but I never thought I'll be the man for the job. But now, after taking the training, I realized this is the opportunity I want to embrace. And so they're already ready with the money. And so I'll be taking on that project. And we were asking him, other like tricky questions. How do you ensure that, it's going to be sold out? He said, it's going to be because are there enough devotees to move in? He said, of course not. It's going to be multi-faith, vegetarian, spiritual, eco village. That's his thing. And we were saying, but why people would buy? He said, because it's going to be below the market price, 20% cheaper than regular housing. We were saying, but what about your profit? He said, no problem, I'll still make over 100 million for myself. Which is probably to construct this kind of village would take him maximum 5 years. So he was earning maybe 150 K per year with his work, which is not a bad salary. But with this project, he would go from 150K to 20 million per year, right? And that's going to be his service for Krishna. These kind of opportunities we're talking about, right? If you're professional and if you're doing it for Krishna, putting your heart into it, it's going to be rewarding even financially, big time. So this kind of opportunities we want devotees to take up, because we want devotees to be successful for a simple reason, that the more successful devotees we have in ISKCON, guess what will happen? Then ISKCON will become as successful as its members, right? So if you're interested in it, you're welcome to talk to me after the class, because I think we already used up our classroom time. So I wanted to thank you all for your kind attention and interest in the subject. So hopefully together we can do something remarkable for Srila Prabhupada already in this lifetime. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.